Sisi, Bamnia, welcome here to St. Moritz.
Thank you.
And the first question to you is about snowboarding, as we heard from Eric. So you have been here since Sunday. Have you been snowboarding?
Yeah. So actually, Sunday the snow conditions were okay. Yesterday was beautiful. Yesterday was probably the best snow I've seen in my snowboarding life.
So in the next 20 to 25 minutes, we will discuss a variety of topics together, including industry and personal questions, because I'm also interested in the person behind Sisi, the co-founder and CEO of Binance. So let's go back to the beginning of your crypto journey. When you learned about Bitcoin in 2013, you later sold your apartment to invest in it. So for those unfamiliar with this story, can you tell us more about that? And what was it about Bitcoin that convinced you to go all in?
Yeah, so I came into crypto, a friend, I probably, many of you guys may have received the Crypto Bella wallet. He's now the founder of that. He used to be the founder of BTC China. So we're in Shanghai together. He's a friend of mine for like 4 or 5 years before that. So one day in July 2013, he says, Sisi, you should look into this Bitcoin thing. And he said you should convert 10% of your net worth into crypto, into Bitcoin. There's a small chance you'll go to zero, so you lose 10%. There's a much higher chance you will 10x and you double your net worth. I was like, okay, that's a pretty serious way of introducing it. So he wasn't joking, it's not random. So I looked into it, I read the white paper. I got it quite quickly, the concept. I was always in finance. I had my own PGP key from 1998 for email. So I understood the encryption aspects of it, the tech, the finance. I was like, this thing could work if there's a community. So it took me about 6 months or so. By December 2013, I went to a conference kind of like this size in Las Vegas. And again, at the time, the headlines were Silk Road, crypto is used by drug lords, etc. So, but when you at the conference, you meet Charlie Lee, a bunch of geeks, a bunch of very like young kids. I was like, well, this is different from the headline, and if this is the community, I'm very happy to join. So after that conference, I said I'm going to quit my job, and then I sold my house, and then went all in. So I didn't just go 10%. Yeah, but for me, many people think that's a very high-risk thing. For me, the risk calculation was, if this whole thing went to zero, I can always get another job at a bank, right? So it's an IT job. So I'll get a salary. So I quit my job, started looking for a job in crypto. Bobby Lee offered me a job. I didn't take it. But I found a job within like a month. And then, yeah, the rest is history.
Okay, so you talk about community, the values in the community also that I read in an interview. So after you invested in Bitcoin and you worked for a few crypto companies, you launched Binance in 2017, defined also some values for Binance, right? So I spoke with Eric Voorhees while preparing for this conference, and one thing that impressed me really was that he decentralized his business into a DAO because he was being forced to implement rules that weren't compatible with his values. So for you, what are your main values as a person and for Binance?
Yeah, so I think it's, I also spoke with Eric yesterday. And I first met him in 2014, so I haven't seen him since.
Okay, cool.
And then, so different businesses take different approaches. And this different, you may contribute by personality, by background, by geopolitical situations, etc. So for me, I come from more of a tech background. I've always built trading systems. So the centralized exchange technology is something that I know how to, well, I and plus our team knows how to build. So Binance is like the 5th generation for me. This is like a 5th complete trading system we've done. And it's very high performance, and the technology fits a centralized exchange. So, and luckily, in the industry right now, there's a strong demand for a centralized exchange. Most people still prefer using an email, password, call customer support, etc. And as a centralized exchange, we get scrutinized by regulators all over the world. They want us to do KYC. They want us to do the AML. They want us to do transaction monitoring. Law enforcement come to us with requests to freeze accounts of criminals. And we have to comply. If not, then I'll probably end up in places where I don't want to be. So, so for us, it's a very simple choice. Well, there's not much a choice. This is just the way the centralized exchanges have to work. And Binance is large enough that it's almost impossible to decentralize that right now for the centralized exchange part. But we do invest very heavily in other decentralized solutions. So wallets, DEXs, blockchains, everything. So we strongly support decentralized technology. For me, deep inside, I'm definitely a decentralization advocate. So I want everything to be decentralized. I want people to have the power to control their wealth, to use the financial tools, to be able to transact. All of that freedom should be given to the people. But at the same time, we're in the transition phase of this industry. So we have to work with traditional financial services. So we have to integrate with banks. We have to get licenses. We have to do all of this stuff. So different businesses a little bit have chosen different approaches. For Binance, we want to be the bridge between crypto and traditional finance. For that, we have to get licenses.
Yeah. That's also like the next question. So we understand now why you are in this industry and like what your approach is there. So you mentioned that you have worked previously in the traditional world. Now you're in crypto. If you look around here, we have people from both worlds also here. So what are the main similarities for you or the overlaps in both like industries?
I think there's still a lot of similarities, right? So we always take what we learn or we know already and apply like 20% new to it, right? So this blockchain technology is brand new. But then the way we run centralized exchanges, the way we run customer support, the way we do all of these things are very similar to traditional ways of doing businesses. There is a bit of a push and pull kind of happening. Many of the regulators want us to be the traditional bank type, which actually doesn't work for crypto. We're much more, there's a lot of differences. We're much more international. We have users from everywhere, and we depend on the blockchain technology very heavily. People can deposit via the blockchain, withdraw via the blockchain. And there's also minor differences, like the current exchange runs 24/7, doesn't stop on New Year, Christmas. The traditional exchanges run like 6 hours a day or less. So there's a lot of little differences. So people who try to come from traditional industries really need to open up their mind. And there's also a lot of philosophical differences. Everyone in this industry hates centralization. So anything that's centralized, they hate, which is fine. So there's a lot of little things, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So if you say open the mind, right, like the traditional people, what do you mean by that, open the mind? Are there so many different approaches there that you have to say like you have to learn it from scratch again, or what do you mean by open the mind?
Yeah, so like for a very simple example, right? Most regulators expect you to have an office with what you call a headquarters, and then a certain type of company registration, certain type of structure for your compensation. All of that is no longer necessary, but we still do it because we have to. Binance actually went backwards. We ran an organization we don't even call a company before. That was very decentralized. That people all around the world. We have users in 180 different countries. So we have teams in 180 different countries, most of whom have never met each other in person. Okay. Right. So and we just work, and it works very beautifully. We're more efficient. We tap into a global talent pool. People work much longer hours when they work from home. Because they can take a break, take care of their kids during the day, and then at night they'll be, because we have people in everywhere, so people do conference calls at like 11 p.m., 12 p.m., even 1 a.m. very often. So people save time on commute. So there's a lot of little differences in this industry. And speaking of Eric Voorhees, he decentralized his organization, which is another very interesting experiment. So, and it seems to be working well from what he said yesterday. So, yeah, a lot of new things are happening, which is very interesting.
Yeah. So let's go back afterwards to regulation. That's also a topic we have to discuss, of course. So to address one other key difference, you've stated that crypto exchanges, crypto businesses should hold customer assets one-on-one so that their customers can withdraw 100% of their assets whenever they want. That's completely different to like the traditional understanding with fractional reserves, with banks and so on. So in light of this, can you explain to us your thinking and the importance of the proof of assets, proof of reserves approach or concept?
Yeah, so this is a very important topic right now. So there's some, again, fundamental differences. In crypto, there's not a central bank that can print more money to bail you out. So when you have an organization like that, yeah, they can always bail you out. But how do they do it, right? You cannot print value out of thin air. You can print money, but when you print money, you dilute everybody else. So they're basically taking value from everybody else by diluting them and give it to a few selected failed organizations. That's usually a bad approach to be like in business sense, because why would you want to prolong a failing organization? Yeah. But in crypto, that doesn't happen, which is actually a good thing. The bad organizations fail. And they cause a lot of pain in the short term, but long term, other stronger organizations take over and provide a much better service, much more reliable. So it's a much more down to the core principles of free market. The good ones last, the not so good ones don't last. And then with banks run on fractional reserves, which is there's this concept called capital efficiency. So you have to use your money to invest, to make more money, and then pay the interest, etc. Which is a fine concept, but then that will have a very high rate of failure. If there's no bailouts, a lot of banks will fail, right? In crypto, there's no bailouts, and a lot of guys try to do that, they fail. I think if you tell your customers, look, that's what we're going to do. We're going to take your money and then give it to somebody else, and then hopefully we'll make more money and give it back to you. If you say that, that's okay, I think. That's, at least you're open about it, then it's your customer's choice to do that. But if you say that, look, we hold your assets one-to-one, we don't touch it, we just hold it for custody for you. And if you don't do that, that is fraud, right? So that is not good. Yeah. But fundamentally, for the exchanges make money by trading fees. We're very profitable. There's no need to move the money to invest, try to make a return. So we have a very simple philosophy. This is why, like throughout this whole ordeal, we never lend or even move the control of the customer assets to other third parties. So this is why we have never done staking in Genesis. That we never touched. They came to us many times, right? So this type of opportunity came to us many, many times. We always said, look, we're never going to allow some other party to have control over our customer assets, because if that party fails, then we're liable for it. So there's some very simple business models, and they're very profitable business models too. So so there are differences, but it's very important for crypto exchanges to hold one-to-one reserves for customer assets, because the market is too volatile. And the proof of reserves is very important. But the crypto businesses can be much more transparent, are already much more transparent than traditional banks. Traditional banks, you have no idea how much money they hold, other than an audit report, which we've seen that Enron was audited, Madoff was audited. There's a lot of guys who were audited that fail. But with crypto, there's many third-party audit organizations that track the blockchain. They estimate very accurately how much user assets we have. It was 60 billion, 50 billion, whatever. So it's already much more transparent. Yeah.
So if you talk about proof of reserves or assets concept for more transparency, it's good for the whole market and so on, can be seen as a first step to even more transparency. So where do you see the limitations of that approach?
There's really not that much limitations, right? There are certain limitations, like liabilities. It's very difficult to prove the non-existence of something, right? So if something doesn't exist, you can't prove it doesn't exist. So there's some limitations, but by and large, I think if you look at the market share, as we said, we need to build trust, and the best way to build trust is to always be reliable, and trust is built over time. That's when people have to trust a third centralized party, a counterparty. The other way is, look, if you are familiar with the technology, please do hold crypto in your wallets and make sure it's safe. So you got to follow the security practices there. But we offer choices. We offer Trust Wallet. We give people choices for them to choose, and we let them choose. Yeah.
Okay, so if we look at the proof of assets concept as like a trustless system, so you don't need, with blockchain technology, you said we could have in theory like a trustless system. So, and we don't need to trust a third party anymore. Considering a future, and we go to the decentralized world now, so how do you see the industry evolving with everything happened in the past month? So complete decentralization with trustless systems, a mix of centralized, decentralized, or even going back to like, okay, let's rethink everything.
It's always going to be a mix between centralized versus decentralized, and also the two things are not binary, right? It's not you're either centralized or decentralized. Like you got to look at many different aspects of centralization, and in each aspect there's a gradient scale. So there's many. Like I'll give you a couple of extreme examples. Any group of people working together is centralization. So in a fully decentralized world, everyone should be on their own. They should be like, that doesn't happen. We work in groups. We're much more efficient. And then you work in projects, you work in teams, and you work in, and certain teams build more centralized solutions than others. If you look at crypto, right? So Bitcoin is probably pretty decentralized. It doesn't have a founder that we can associate. That now we can associate with Ethereum and to some extent BNB. So we're less centralized. We're less decentralized that way. But if you look at Bitcoin mining, the top two mining pools control more than 51% of the hash power. If you look at Dogecoin, if you look the holders, the top one holder holds 27% of the total assets, and the top 20 addresses hold more than 51%. And then we talked about founders, right? So Ethereum is pretty decentralized, but if Vitalik suggests something, that he will probably the community will follow. For BNB, if I suggest something, if I'm smart enough to suggest anything now, people may follow. So there are many different aspects of centralization versus decentralization. And then people say, look, if you hold your coin in your own wallet, that's decentralized, fine. And if you hold it on a centralized exchange, it's centralized. But when you hold your crypto in your own wallet, you still depend on the software provider. The software provider still, even if you use a hardware wallet, you have a software that talks to their server. If that server breaks down, you actually can't send your crypto at that time. Of course, you can use your backup seed and recover it, etc. So there's different levels. But longer term, though, short answer is there's going to be more and more decentralization. I think in 10 years, decentralized exchanges will be bigger than Binance or any other centralized exchange.
Oh, wow.
I think 10, 15 years, give or take.
Okay, so how do you see like the market dominance topic then in 10 to 15 years? I mean, at the moment we have players that are dominating the market, right? So is there like a threat to those players at the moment with all this decentralization happening?
Yeah, there's always threats to any player in the industry, right? So somebody could write a better search engine and replace Google, potentially. And many people are trying. And if a businesses do die, business grow, they become big, and then they go through life cycles. So everything is possible. And I think for any organization, for example, for Binance, we have one business that's pretty big and pretty profitable, pretty sustainable, but it's not going to last forever. Okay. We got to invest in other newer technologies that made the more things that could disrupt you, the more you got to invest in them, right? Okay. So we don't want to become a Kodak. We want to become the Canon and Nikons of cameras. All of them are traditional camera companies. So yeah, with new technology, we got to invest in things that can disrupt us, and we want to disrupt ourselves, hopefully, instead of other people disrupting us. Okay, so it's more that you go now in decentralization topics and so on. Yeah, as I understood it. Okay, yeah. So let's go back to the regulation topic. So last year you said, I'm a technology entrepreneur and we're doing this pivot into a fully regulated financial business. So since then you have invested in your personnel, 500 people, more or less, I read, staff and compliance department. You secured your oversight in several jurisdictions, including France, license in Dubai, and so on. Yeah. So what is the role of regulation for you, especially in these times? And I guess you talk to regulators, so what are you talking with them about? What do you suggest them? Yeah, so that's a very long and complex, and also every country is different. There's 200 different countries in the world. We interface with maybe like 30, 40, 50 of them. So every situation is a little bit different. But I do think high level, we need to embrace certain regulations, and we need to help shape the regulations. Okay. Regulations are not good or bad in itself. Good regulations are good, bad regulations are bad. So for example, China bans crypto exchanges, bans crypto mining, and obviously we think that's bad. So we don't like that. We have no business there now. And then there are other countries which are fully embracing this technology and just letting everything run wild. That's probably not a good approach either. So there's probably somewhere in between where we need to figure out how to protect users. What level of transparency do businesses like us, the centralized exchanges, should do. Before they were really focused on KYC, AML, which is very important. After Luna UST, there was focus about stable coins. Now there's focus about proof of reserves, custody of assets. So the industry learning and progressing, so which is actually good. But we also have seen some knee-jerk reactions where they just say, "Look, we're going to shut everything down,"
All right.
and which is actually very unfortunate because that actually prevents traditional financial institutions to adopt this technology, which in the short term causes pain for crypto guys like us. We will be losing some banking relationships from some fiat channels. In the long term, it actually really hurts those guys because they are denied the chance to come into crypto by regulations. Because of all the things that happened recently. So you'll be like bookstores are prevented from making websites, or Kodak prevented from developing digital cameras more. So those things in the long term will hurt them. So it's very important for today what we call traditional financial services to adopt this blockchain technologies. Yeah. So if they don't get to do that, 10 years later they will be disrupted in a big way. Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about a lot. So we talked about the past, the present. So let's look in the future. So 2023, what can we expect from this year? And the most important question, as Christian already said, we discussed it also yesterday already. How can we rebuild trust?
Answer the second part before the 2023 one.
Yeah.
There's two ways. One is through technology. We are in this trustless technology thing, so we can rely on Merkle tree proof of reserves. Vitalik is working on another one with ZK proofs. So we're working with them on that. So the one way is to rely on technology so that everything can be verified, it's cryptographically secure, etc. The other one would be we're still humans, right? So we still have to trust each other. Most people who use Binance.com as a centralized exchange will have to trust us with the ability to hold their funds safe. So that second type of trust has to be built over time. You have to consistently be reliable, consistently do the things that you say. It just takes time. So we go on both approaches. For 2023, though, I'm always bullish. So even at the beginning of 2022, I was bullish, but the market went like that. So, but I'm always one way. I'm always bullish. If I'm not bullish about this industry, I would not be here. And I'm bullish not just on 2023, not just 1 year, but much longer horizons, right? So in crypto, we see very distinct 4-year cycles. 2013 December was an all-time high at 1,000 Bitcoin price. 2017 was also December 19,000. And then November 2021. So every 4 years, there's a higher high. And then, of course, it doesn't go on forever. There will be some corrections. So historically, we have seen 1-year drops. Drops are usually fast. It goes, and then it takes a few years to recover. So out of the 4 years, it's usually 1-year drop, 1 year kind of recovery, and then the Bitcoin halving, and then 1 year all-time high. History doesn't predict the future, but I hope that 2022 was the year that we're more than 1 year now. So I hope that's over, and this is the best time to build. The company who start now are the strong guys. There's much less noise, and fundraising, etc., is not as easy as in the bull market, but this is the best time to build solid products. So that's what we plan to do. So we actually increased headcount in 2022 significantly. We went from 3,000 to almost 8,000 now. Oh, wow. 2023 we will continue to increase, probably, but I'm hoping not double. Hopefully like 15, 20, 30% ish. And we need to get our organization well organized. With a fast growth and especially decentralized, we're not super efficient. We're not super well organized actually. Yeah. And we'll continue to build. And hopefully we will ramp up again before the next bull market. Last bull market, 2021, we struggled on customer support. Because we couldn't scale customer support quickly. We struggled on some technology stuff as well. Yeah. So we want to be ready for the next bull market.
Okay, perfect. So, first of all, thank you very much for all the answers to the questions. So, finally, again, a personal question to you. I mean, with the position you have, with the pressure from different parts and so on, so you cannot be here the whole time in St. Moritz to snowboard, right, and to enjoy the beautiful snow. So, how do you keep yourself healthy? I mean, mentally, physically, how do you do that? Do you have some, you told us yesterday, 2 or 3 little tricks, but how do you do that?
I live a pretty normal life in terms of, I sleep 6-7 hours a day. I actually take a nap during the afternoon as well. I eat normally. I actually don't have a lot of stress. We built a fairly solid business. Like our business is solid. We do reconciliations real time. We do daily, weekly, monthly further reconciliations. We have all the customer assets verified on the blockchain. Our business is profitable. We're doing the right things by our users. We're not doing anything crazy. It's a very simple business. I don't do very much. Our team does everything. I really only go on stage and talk. Yeah. So I had a back problem like a couple of years back. I had 2 minor surgeries, like herniated disc. They fixed it. Now I'm doing this very simple rehab, just glutes, thighs, very simple exercises to sort of just activate the muscles. And it's working beautifully. Now I can snowboard. I feel very fortunate to be able to do that again, to be very frank. So I exercise a little bit a day, and then I just chill out with friends. So I have dinner, have a drink, have a glass of wine, sometimes too much. But that's it, really. I'm like a normal person.
Okay, perfect. Good. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much.
I see the screen is red. So he will be then afterwards at the Q&A bubbles. Just if you have questions, join us then afterwards. Zizi, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much. Cheers. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Very nice. Thank you.